Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of DABCC TV. This is sort of part 2 of my episode with George Pradel from Vizioncore, and this time he's going to talk about vFoglight. So if you missed part 1, we talked about vOptimizer Pro, an application that I call one of the coolest apps around. So, and I mean that. So go check it out if you're like, yeah, Doug, you think everything's cool. No. If I think everything's cool, that one's really cool. So definitely check out part 1 of this sort of video series I'm doing with George. And now, George, your job is here to show me vFoglight and make me say, wow, this is even cooler.
Well, exactly, Doug. vFoglight is a tool that has been worked on for a while here. And what's cool about it is that the more you understand VMware, the better off you'll be understanding exactly why this tool is really valuable. One of the things that I first get asked, by kind of people who look at it immediately and say, I have Virtual Center. Why do I need this? And when you think of Virtual Center is an excellent product. It gets kind of the dashboard of your car. But when the check engine light comes on in your car, what do? You take it out into your mechanic, and they take a big old machine and slap it on the engine, and that you really get the metrics way deep down inside the environment. That's what vFoglight's going to do for you. And hopefully it's going to show you some trends and such that will show you things ahead of time that will be able to, help you ward off some problems.
Well, perfect. So if you guys want to know about George or know about Vizioncore, we did all the intros in part 1 of this series, so definitely go back there. And now we're just going to sort of save that time and jump straight into this. So up on the screen right now, we have vFoglight, Vizioncore's vFoglight. So, George, what are you going to show us? What is this?
Well, basically today, first I want to talk about the product. It's a monitoring product for your VMware environments. It actually will also monitor physical hosts, either Linux or Windows. If you want to install an agent in it, you can monitor those as well. But we're going to focus on the virtualization pieces today. When you download vFoglight from us, vFoglight, it's a monitoring tool. So you could run it. It is supported within a virtual machine. However, if you're going to start putting some load on it and such, I would highly recommend that you get it on a physical machine, just for the fact that it is going to take some resources up. And the other side to that is there's kind of a lifelong discussion about whether your monitoring tools should actually be within VMs that you're monitoring, because it may skew the results. And we could spend a whole hour on that. And I don't think there's actually an answer you're going to get to. But I wanted to show you exactly within the environment. A lot of times, you download the product, you install it. One of the things that you're going to do is that you're going to install a collection agent right on the server that you install Foglight on. That's going to point towards Virtual Center. That is the only thing you need to do as far as an agent goes. So there's one agent sits on the Foglight server that monitors Virtual Center. If you have multiple Virtual Centers, we can actually see those from the one pane of glass here. You can install collectors on all the Virtual Centers and have them point back at the Foglight server, and we'll show you a lot of information then about it.
Very cool. Now, are there any agents that go into the actual VMs, the guests?
There are agents if you want to go down into the process level, and I'll show you that, which is really cool because, when you're trying to troubleshoot a problem, what do you want to do? You want to go at the highest level, and then you want to start moving down very, very quickly in through the different levels. And if you can get down into a virtual machine and you can see what is the offending process within that virtual machine that's also changed a lot recently, you have a better chance of trying to figure out exactly what the problem was and exactly what kicked it off. So we can show you a little bit of that today.
Very cool. So what are you going to show us first?
Okay, so the first thing is when you pull it up, you want to click on this VM Explorer. VM Explorer is just a custom dashboard that we've created that actually will show you, you'll come up with this, you have Virtual Center. Down here at the topology section, let me go ahead and kind of make that a little bit larger here, is that this topology section, you can see your data centers, your clusters, your ESX servers, your resource pools, and your virtual machines. And you can see already just by hovering over these, I'm not actually clicking on anything, I'm just hovering over them, that basically you'll get a pop-up window that's going to show you more information about these. So why is this important? Because anyone who knows VMware understands that basically you need to be able to see things at this cluster level. Because the data center level is cool and all, okay? So we can look at this right here and go, well, look, here's my network I/O across the data center. Here's my CPU load. But there's more important things that need to go on, is that we need to be able to see within our clusters, because that's the area that vMotion works in, and then DRS on top of vMotion. And then obviously we're looking at possibilities for HA, that type of thing. And so we have the ability now to look, here we're looking directly within the cluster. Now on these screens there's like little wings here, and if you click on them, you can actually bring the wing out or bring it back. And I'm going to do that just so we can get a nice full screen of this.
Oh, very cool.
So you're looking at this at the cluster level. Now we could also look at this at the ESX host level, what have you. And this gives us a really nice view of what's going on. We can look at the performance across that. You might say, George, well, why is that important? Well, if you're trying to do any kind of trend analysis, you might say, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, you've got percent ready and percent used. And percent ready is a queuing mechanism within VMware that says how long are virtual machines waiting before they're serviced. And you don't want to let that go much above 5% on a regular basis. So if you're looking at this, you can say, okay, well, this is nice and low across my cluster, but if it's starting to trend up towards that 5%, that's when you need to know, you need to add another ESX server within that cluster. Because remember, just adding another ESX server somewhere in the data center isn't going to help you. It's got to be actually within that cluster, tied to the same resources and such, so that way you can see what's in there. So the other thing you can do is that up in the upper right-hand corner, it's something that not everybody sees right away, is that you can look at, you can change the time frame that you're looking at just with a click of a mouse. So now we're looking at 24 hours. Maybe you come in on a Monday, something went haywire over the weekend. So now let's go look at 72 hours, and so we can see if there was any aberrations over those 72 hours. So again, this allows you to control things. We can also look at the storage level. So basically, this is the storage that's presented within that cluster. And we can look right here and see, okay, on this first piece of storage, I got 127 gigabytes and free 127 gigabytes. Pretty amazing. Not anything used on that one. But if we look at the iSCSI, we can see that, okay, about half of that's being used. Now, there's some weekly growth rates and estimated time until full, and, you know, those may be useful in a thin provisioning type of scenario, but in other situations, you may or may not need those. So the big thing, though, is the information's available to you. At any level, you can also go down and see, here's all the virtual machines that are in that cluster. So if we want to actually go in and take a look at one of those virtual machines, we can actually double-click on that virtual machine, and then what you'll find is that we're now taken directly to that virtual machine, the inside of it. So now we're actually living, you know, if you're looking at a matrix type of scenario, we're actually within the matrix here instead of outside of it monitoring it.
Very cool, very cool. And this is where the agent on the local machine would come into play?
Exactly.
Okay.
Because with that agent, what we can do here is we can pull up the processes within the virtual machine. And now the nice part about this, again, is the ability to be able to see. If you look at the upper right-hand corner, CPU, largest change, memory, largest change, which one of these processes is causing that? The best chance is that there's an aberration going on here, and we can actually go in and take a look at that and be able to see exactly what the process is that kicked in. Maybe like I did today, you get a virus on your machine, and all of a sudden you notice even within a virtual machine, that kicks off, and it's something that maybe needed to be analyzed. We can also look at storage at this level as well. So this is nice. The fact is you've got a web interface to this. Now look at this virtual machine that you've got here. It's a 20 gig virtual machine with 16 gig free. This is about as common as I see out there almost every day. Now, if you think about it, I'm going to give a plug back for the vOptimizer Pro that we just went through.
I was just going to say it.
You may want to pull that down, right? So here's some tools that are helping you to analyze your environment a lot better and take a look at it.
Now, what you guys need to do is create a hook into vOptimizer Pro so we can just do it right here.
Well, you'll be following us this year, right?
Yeah,
all
absolutely.
Right. We just might have something a little bit later this year that can do that kind of thing.
Oh, I love it.
So yeah, if we take a look at this environment, we see how these tools start to fit together. I think people will go, okay, they understand virtualization. And what we want to do is build tools for people who do and don't understand virtualization. And you'll see that when I go to the alarm section. One of the things I wanted to show you as well is that we've looked at the VMware Explorer, so you can go through the whole environment. But maybe you just want to give a quick synopsis from a virtual center level of your environment. So we can actually choose whatever virtual center that we're on, and this will give us some tools. So kind of like a NOC type of environment. And then if you've got any type of situations here, like at the cluster level, if we're looking at any type of messages, that type of thing, we can actually double-click on it, and it will take us to those messages. But with this environment, we don't have any messages at the moment here. One of the other things I want to show you that I think is really important is bookmarking. And you go, well, George, why would I care about bookmarks? What a bookmark does is that a bookmark, we can call this the DABCC.com bookmark, and we can also preserve the state. So you can bookmark a certain point within this product, and I can send it via email. Maybe I'm seeing a network problem, and I'm the VMware guy, but I want to send this over to my buddy who's running the network and let him take a look at it. So I can create this and then click OK, and then up in the upper left-hand corner, we can actually go to that. One of the ones that, the other bookmark that I created was one that I think is really important for people to see, is that we actually monitor alerts, and the alerts that we monitor, one of them just happens to be that there is a negative overcommitment of memory resources. You say, well, George, what the heck does that mean? Well, some of you will know what I'm talking about right off the bat here, because of the fact that a negative overcommitment of memory resources basically will tell us exactly the fact that this certain virtual machine, remember when that person said, okay, I want you to build that virtual machine for me, and I got to have 4 gig of memory. I have to have 4 gig of memory on this. But then what this alert will tell you is the fact that that virtual machine is not using all of that resources that's been allocated to it. So it's saying, look, you could actually go in and restore some of that memory back to the pool and be perfectly fine with it. And so that way you're actually doing things that are a lot smarter. So again, you can create these bookmarks and you can send them to people over email, and provided that they have the proper administration rights, because this does have a full capabilities to be able to tie into LDAP and AD and be able to use the groups and such from that. One of the things that you have to understand is that as we go forward, we will be supporting more hypervisors rather than just VMware as we do today. And so that's the reason why we don't tie into VMware's database, is that it makes more sense from a customer standpoint that we tie into something that is linked with the customer rather than with the vendor.
Well, very cool. What about capacity? Do you have anything for sort of seeing future capacity or capacity bottlenecks, anything like that?
Yeah, we do. If we take a look at the VM modeler, this is the kind of the piece that does some of the capacity planning today. When you're looking to do a vMotion within vFoglight, or I should say within VMware, one of the things that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to say, okay, if I take this virtual machine, and there's a reason why you're moving it from one ESX server to another. Typically, it's because you're having a problem with that virtual machine not getting enough resources on the current server. And so before you move it, wouldn't it be nice to know if you're actually going to move the problem, or if you're going to fix the problem, or if there's a high likelihood that you'll fix the problem? So what the migration modeler will do is allow you to select a virtual center, and then you can pick a virtual machine that you want to select here, and we can pull this up, and it's going to show you the projected CPU consumption and network consumption, etc. This is all based upon which server you're going to. So basically I can pull this up, and it says, well, don't have a whole lot of resource issues here. But if we look down on the storage consumption, it is going to add some resources to the storage consumption. So we may want to take that into light, but it doesn't look like that's actually going to be an issue there. And we can actually take a look and see. All right, so on the memory consumption, if we move it to that server, we're still not getting anywhere near the 4 gig that's on that box. So again, this is kind of an idea that it will allow you to be able to see this environment in a whole different way. The other thing I wanted to point out is the fact that you can also look at the alarms. Alarms within the VMware environment. One of the things that is some of your listeners will know is that Scott Harold actually wrote the Advanced Technical Design Guides along with Ron Oglesby for 2.5 as well as VI3. And Scott actually works for our parent company, Quest, and was helpful in writing some of these alerts. And what's nice about that is that Scott understood some of these alarms. So basically, if you look at the alarms and you go into the alarms and kind of get more detail about them, one of the things that you'll find is that there's some intelligence built into the alarms. Now, if you see that this one, basically what we're looking at up here, it's saying that it's a potential negative overcommitment, but then it just doesn't say, okay, here's the problem or here's the issue. It gives you a suggestion on how to fix it.
Oh, God help
Pretty
me.
Nice, huh?
Oh, that's what I like to see.
Memory allocated for this virtual machine can likely be reduced without impacting the virtual machines. It has a large amount of memory that's all zeros. So this can help you to get the most bang for your buck, the most optimization out of your environment because of the fact that you have the ability to go into these alarms. Now, you can acknowledge these alarms, etc. The other thing that's kind of nice is that you can put a notes section in here, and you can actually add a note that says, hey, no problem, this is, George fixed this, no problem. And that way, when someone else comes along and sees the alert and is reviewing them, now it's tagged and says, okay, I've got this situation here, but now there's ways for you to communicate with the other folks.
Very cool. Now, is there a way for me to, instead of being forced to come into not that I wouldn't want to, but
no, exactly.
Come in there to maybe have these alerts emailed to me maybe once a day and all the alerts instead of 100 emails a day, or how does that work?
Yeah, we've got SNMP traps that can,
perfect.
You can hook up with some of your other types of management tools, and we fully recognize that and want to support that. And what you'll see coming out throughout this year is some capabilities to be able to have some snap-in packs that will give you some of the most popular SNMP traps to some of the larger environments like your SCOM monitoring, that type of thing.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, very cool, very cool. Well, I think I'm going to have to. I have one more physical server sitting in my data center. I've been wanting to save power, but I think I'm going to have to break it out and install this thing, George.
Yeah, it's really a great tool that can help you really understand your environment extremely well. And the other thing you can do is you can create dashboards, you can create reports here, and the way that you do that is a drag and drop. So let's say that this weekend you were going to be doing some heavy work, or let's say it's financials, and you want to make sure that your ESX hosts are not maxed out. You could actually have a dashboard that you could be sitting on your couch at home and dialed in and making sure that if you wanted to monitor it on a regular basis, or you could have those alerts, sent out to you. Depends on how you want to do it.
Perfect. And this is all web-based, so I can literally get this from my home.
Yeah, exactly. Provided you got, the access into the environment through an SSL VPN.
Exactly. We're not sticking the vFoglight management console on port 80 on wide open.
Yeah, exactly.
Are we?
No, we are not. So the other thing is that we can actually, the V bundle is actually, this was created by one of our systems engineers, and he said it took him about 10 minutes in order to do it. It was really quick. This gives you kind of an all ESX host overview, so you can see in your environment, what your total memory is across the ESX host, how many cores you've got, etc. If you want to look at all your virtual machines, you can do that as well and see how many you've got. So again, the whole idea here is to give you a lot of capabilities, but also be able to do those very easily. We have built-in reports and built-in dashboards and as well, but that's a good start. But a lot of times people want to see things that are really kind of geared towards their environment, towards maybe some of the issues they're having of the day.
You can download an eval of this. What does somebody need to do? For example, me, I'm going to download this thing, and I'm going to build a server here, that one spare one that I have left over. And so what do I need to do? I need to download it. Yep. Then what?
Basically, what you'll do is you'll download the package. Now, this package is about, I think, 450 megabytes, so make sure you got time to download it.
I'll download it now before I go home for dinner.
There you go, exactly. And then once you have it downloaded onto your server, then you go ahead and it's going to run you through a wizard. Things that you're going to need that will make your life a whole lot easier is there will be a separate email that will have the license file in it. Make sure you got that available. Either download it to the machine and have it, in the My Documents or somewhere where you can find it easily. The second thing is you need to have your virtual center, your virtual center administrator account and a password available to you. If you have those things available, you can get this thing installed in seriously like about 10 minutes.
Very cool, very cool. No Windows requirements?
Just your basic Windows, 2000, 2003, 2008. There is a 64-bit version of this, so for those of you who want to run 64-bit, but I will point this out, the 64-bit is a separate download, so make sure that you're looking for that when you're actually doing the download. Otherwise, you'll be very upset with me that you spent 3 hours downloading something that you had to go back and get the alternate one.
Yeah, we don't want anybody upset with you, George.
No, the biggest thing that I see is that you get the vFoglight down, you point it at your virtual center environment, let it collect data for a couple days. I think you'll be very surprised at some of the alarms that are out there and maybe some of the information that it's going to drag in. The product can be extremely granular and extremely complicated, but it doesn't have to be. It can be very simple and straightforward. So remember to open up this virtual tab and then also go down to the VM Explorer, and then boom, you'll start seeing your whole VMware environment in a totally new way.
Very cool, very cool. Well, George, as always, I appreciate your time. Is there anything else you'd like to show us or talk about before we call this an episode?
There's so much here that I could, but I'm going to leave it at that because I really want to appreciate the folks that have tuned in today. And if they want more information, they can talk to their local sales folks who would be more than happy to run them through even more detailed demonstration. So we'll leave it at where it is today.
Definitely, definitely. And then also for those of you out there watching this, stay tuned or look in the DABCC media section. We might even, by this time you're watching this, have even more videos from the guys at Vizioncore. So,
exactly.
and/or videos from other people too. So I have to pitch other people also because it's my show. So, George, on that note, I appreciate your time for these 2 videos we made. Definitely, if you guys didn't caught the video in half, you didn't listen to the first half, we did a video with these guys also about the vOptimizer Pro solution. So go back and check out part 1 of the part 2 series. And George, again, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.